Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I am here with the crew from Clean Up the Lake to announce their new internship program. I have Sadie and Hannah here. They will go ahead and introduce themselves in just a moment. I am Amber Goligoski. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the program coordinator for internships, apprenticeships, and work experience for Lake Tahoe Community College. So I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of organizations in the area, and this is our newest internship, ready to launch in April. So I'm excited to share these details with you and hear a little bit more about the organization and the project. If you have any questions, feel free to digitally raise your hand or unmute yourself during the presentation. We'll also have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation for anything that can wait till the end as we start to wrap up. So Sadie and Hannah, take it away.
Thanks, Amber. My name is Sadie Easler. I'm the programs manager at Clean Up the Lake. And Hannah?
I'm Hannah Uridia, and I am the data management coordinator for Clean Up the Lake and last year's former intern. So I do know a bit about what you guys are going to be doing, and I promise you it is messy, it's dirty, but it's super fun.
All right, let me get this slideshow going. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. Bear with me here. All right, so we'll start just by kind of giving you guys an overview of our organization and some of the cleanup projects we did in 2020. We're a 501c3 nonprofit specializing in volunteer events, particularly scuba cleanups. In this photo, you can see the scuba diver is underwater with one of our yellow mesh bags that they use to collect the litter during our cleanups. When this bag's full, a free diving volunteer goes down and grabs the bag, hands it over to the kayaker who secures the litter and then replaces it with a fresh bag for them to continue cleaning. All this litter is then categorized and created into a set of data, which Hannah will go into more depth later in this presentation. In this photo, you can see kind of what a day on the water looks like for us. This was during our Nevada Division of State Lands grant in August of 2020, where we cleaned 6 miles on the east shore of the lake on the Nevada side. We've got our kayak support, which I mentioned earlier. Due to COVID-19, we had to have more boats to spread out our volunteers. We have free divers. Our divers are out here having lunch, as well as jet skiers who help to identify and mark GPS points along the way for other valuable data we collect, as well as keeping an eye on the scuba divers and kind of maintaining a safe perimeter. I'm going to show you guys a quick video that announced our partnership with Tahoe Blue Vodka, who donated $100,000 to our 72-mile cleanup. This will just kind of give you an idea of what it looks like in action on a cleanup day. Just let this load here. So our organization's mission statement is to fight back against plastic and all forms of pollution in our global environment, both on land and under the surface, starting in Lake Tahoe. And to give you a little bit of a background on how we came to be, our executive director, Colin West, took a trip down to Belize, and during his trip, he noticed the extreme pollution problem, particularly with plastics. So upon returning to Tahoe, he was planning on creating an organization to go down and help support the community down there in mitigating their litter problem. And upon his arrival back to Lake Tahoe, there was a group of divers who got together and did a cleanup over by Bonsai Rock on the east shore. And in one day, they removed 600 pounds of garbage. So Colin got certified to dive and took a deeper look into the problem and created Clean Up the Lake. So last year, we were planning on doing the 72-mile cleanup, but due to world events, we decided to postpone that cleanup. We were on the lookout for another project, and a 12-year-old girl from Truckee brought to our attention that Donner Lake had or has a huge litter problem, and it was her goal to create some signs on the 31 public piers to notify people about the concept of packing out what you pack in and keeping the place better than you find it when you show up. So to support Ella, we launched a scuba cleanup and a fundraising program where we pledged to clean the entire circumference of the lake if the fundraising for the signs was met. And through community support, we were able to achieve this goal, thus completing our first circumnavigation of a lake by a scuba cleanup. And we removed 5,151 pounds of garbage from Donner Lake. This slide gives you an overview of the cleanup I was talking about earlier. It was a 6-mile cleanup that was funded by the Nevada Division of State Lands, Nevada Department of Environmental Protection, and the federal EPA. We started over in Nevada Beach to Zephyr Cove to an area south of Sand Harbor. And then we cleaned from Secret Cove across the front of Ski Beach. Each dive day is about 3 scuba tanks. It's kind of how we measure our miles. Typically in a day, we can cover about a mile, depending on the amount of garbage that's there. And in this 6 miles of cleanup, we removed 2,338 pounds of garbage. This slide is only some of the garbage we removed during that 6-mile cleanup. It kind of gives you an idea of the items we pulled out of the lake. A lot of aluminum cans, clothing, fiberglass pieces of broken boats, recreational equipment, ropes. So for the internship program, the data we'll be working with is the litter that's removed from the 72 miles of Lake Tahoe. And next, Hannah will be giving you an overview of some more details on what we found in our 2020 cleanups.
So as Sadie talked about, last year we did the full circumference of Donner Lake as well as the 6 miles along different parts of Lake Tahoe. So we have a lot of Lake Tahoe to go, but among those 2 cleanups that we did last year, we already pulled 9,206 pounds of trash. So Sadie and I, along with some other volunteers, have gone through, we've touched every single piece of trash, sorted it, and categorized it. We found, let's see here, 106 tires. What's going on here? Pulled from Tahoe and Donner Lake, so a lot of tires. We found a lot of cans, 3,167 aluminum cans. In terms of sheer numbers, probably cans is the most out of the items that we pull out. Not necessarily in terms of volume or weight though. So what do we do with all of this trash once it's removed? We sort and categorize everything using the UNEP IOC Marine Litter Sorting Survey Method. This is a universal standard that's been fine-tuned for us with our PhD environmental scientist, Zoe Harold, to help us kind of look at what kind of trash we're pulling out of the lake. So it has 9 material categories, for example, plastic, wood, metal, cloth, etc. And then among those material categories, it's then broken down again into 77 subcategories. These are based on the type and use of the material. So we are going to use this and lay out large tarps, which I'll show you on the next slide. We've graded the tarps based on the 77 categories. That way we can kind of literally place all of the garbage that we find and visually sort it all. And each category then is weighed, it's counted, it's photographed, and it's recorded down into our data recordings. This is what you guys are going to be doing if you want to apply and receive this internship. And on the right-hand side, oops, you can kind of see just this is a small piece of what we use. So, you know, at the top, you can see the plastic category broken down into a bunch of different things from plastic ropes to cigarette lighters to plastic bottles, et cetera, et cetera. And there's way more categories than that. So here you can kind of see on the right-hand side, these are the white tarps that we use. With the categories, you can see me on the left writing down each of the titles of the categories. We do use these bins as well because some things just have so many items that we need to put in the bin in order to keep it together among its square. So we have tons and tons of cans. You can see how much fishing line. This was pulled out of Donner Lake. It's been caught up with a bunch of sticks and other debris. You can just imagine what it looks like under the surface of the lake. It's easy to be like, wow, this lake is so pristine and beautiful until you get under there and really see how much litter is down there. A bunch of tennis balls and rubber balls that we found. So why do we sort the trash, and why isn't it enough just to take it out of the water? Why do we have to go through and touch every single piece of garbage? It's for a lot of different reasons. One is education that we can provide to others. We can do community outreach and awareness. We can identify point and non-point sources. So when we go through and figure out what the trash is, we can then say, why is it here? How did it get in here? And how can we prevent it from happening again? We can share all this information with local stakeholders. The more money we raise, the more we can do to prevent this from happening in the future and put out other prevention efforts. And again, just improve mitigation efforts. So same thing, we're just really trying to look to not have to come back and clean the lake in the future. As much fun as it is, our main goal is to try and keep the lake clean, not just clean it up and have to come back. And then we also set up monitoring programs. So after we've cleaned a lake, so for example, Donner Lake, we've done the full circumnavigation. So this year we're going to go back. We're going to make sure that we're setting up monitoring systems to make sure that these lakes stay clean and to keep an eye out and, kind of see where this trash is coming from specifically, which is going to help us because we then understand the problem and we don't have to go back in the future, and we can apply this hopefully to other lakes all over the country and the world. Sadie, you're muted.
In this slide, I'll be going over the learning outcomes you can expect when being involved with this internship. As Hannah just explained, the litter categorization process is one of the main objectives of this internship, and it helps us acquire valuable data that we can relay to our community and make real change in the future. The categorization process, not only will you be sorting, but there are several different there's several different roles involved. So someone will be weighing each of the categories, counting the items in each category. Then someone else will be recording those numbers, as well as somebody taking pictures. So each intern will get a chance to kind of forefront a different role for each categorization day. This data then becomes something that you can get more experience in Excel with. So data organization is really important. And if you're involved in one session or all 3 sessions, we're going to be working with a large set of data, and learning how to organize that properly is definitely an important skill, as well as quality control and assessment of the data. A good example of this, while I was going through the data for the NDSL cleanup, there was an outstanding number under the category of fishing line. Under the plastic category, it showed that we'd found over 1,000 pounds worth of fishing line, which clearly was not accurate. So I was able to go back and review the photos from that day and confirm that only a few pieces of fishing line was found. And from there, I was able to adjust the decimal point so that we could have more of a quality set of data. And this will be something each intern will get an opportunity to dive into. Another aspect in working with the data through the cleanup, we'll also be recording the substrate type underneath the lake, as well as the corresponding shoreline use. And this data we're hoping will be able to correlate with what we're finding underneath the water. That's something that we're going to ask interns to critically think about and see what kind of comparisons we can come up with. You'll also have experience with leadership skills. There'll be other volunteers who are coming out to assist us on these categorization days. And as an intern, as you get more familiar with this process, you'll be guiding these people along and showing them how to successfully categorize litter so we can collect really great data. Project management is another skill you'll get some experience with. So setting up and breaking down each day, understanding what kind of tools you need, also just critical thinking about the process. What can we do better? How can we improve what we do? Those are all types of things that we will be asking you as an intern to give your input on and have an understanding of. You also get an introduction to an application called WildNote. It's a field use data collection software that's used within the industry. And essentially the data collected on a categorization day will be put into a WildNote survey, which you then export into Excel and are able to work with. So experience with that would be a good introduction into some field techniques.
So a little bit more about our internship program. We are going to host 3 10-week sessions. You can see the sessions broken down on the right-hand side. So for session 1, it'll begin the week of April 29th and it'll end the week of July 1st. The sorting location will be in South Lake Tahoe. So if you are a LTCC student, this might be helpful to you to just kind of look at the sorting location would be in South Lake, so you might live down there. If you live elsewhere around the lake, keep an eye out on the other sorting locations as well. We encourage you to come to or to apply to as many of the sessions as you want. You could apply to all 3 and get all 3. You could apply to any combination of them or just one. If you do get a session though, you are required to meet us at least once a week. So once a week we'll have a sorting day. It'll be about 6 hours per day for the sorting. And then just something to keep in mind is that everything we do with Clean Up the Lake does have somewhat of a flexibility. just because there are a lot of different moving parts with what we do. So depending on how much trash is found in certain areas, depending on the weather, whether or not the cleanups that week on the water had to be canceled, maybe there were lightning storms, et cetera, we may have to slightly adjust our sorting days and locations. We will always give you advance notice, but just be kind of aware of this flexibility. We're going to give you the basic outline for it here, of course, but just be aware that that may need to change. And then you always have the opportunity to come to bonus sorting days. So each session is going to qualify you guys for a certain amount of credits towards your internship or a certain amount of units for your school. You can always come on bonus sorting days, even if you're not fully a part of that session, if you wanted to earn a little bit of extra hours. So that's something to keep in mind as well. We could also encourage you if you were kind of like, oh, I'm interested, but I'm not really sure if this is for me. Maybe you wanted to apply to maybe the second or the third session. You could volunteer with us to come out and, see what's up for the first session. Just come out one day and kind of get an idea of what's going on.
So information about who we're looking for to fill these internship roles. If you're here, I'm hoping that you're comfortable sorting through garbage. It can be slimy, it can be smelly, but we have a lot of fun while we're doing it. And something we ask you to follow is our safety protocols and wearing gloves, having closed-toed shoes, and abiding by our COVID-19 safety protocols. So we will require that you wear a mask during these categorization days. So just be aware of those things and make sure you're comfortable with that. We're hoping you have a passion for conservation and the environment. Definitely helps. Attention to detail. We want to make sure that, you're slowing down and you're paying attention to where you're putting the decimal points when you're recording the information. You're making sure that when you're using the scale, you're using the right unit. And just slowing down a little bit. The value of this data is really important to our project. So we ask that this is something that you make a priority. Punctuality and reliability. If you've lived in Tahoe for any amount of time, you know that in the summer, traffic can be unpredictable. There's construction. Keep this in mind and give yourself extra time. Showing up early is always a good kind of thing to go for. And then as far as reliability goes, in signing up for this internship, you are committing to the 10-week session. So please do your best to show up for us on those days. We definitely are relying on you to help us achieve our goals. Being comfortable with basic Excel use will be really helpful for you in this internship. If any of you don't necessarily feel comfortable, please feel free to reach out to Hannah or I. We can send you over some materials and kind of get you up to speed with Excel. Strong verbal communication and ability to work well in team environments is extremely important for this program. We want to create a positive learning atmosphere, so we're going to need your help in achieving that as well. Strong recording skills that kind of plays into attention to detail that I mentioned earlier, but just kind of highlighting the fact that it's extremely important to our data set. Ability to stay on task and follow protocols. Time management plays into this a lot. We're trying to clean up 72 miles and we have a lot of work to do. So staying on task and following our procedures will help us be successful in accomplishing our goals. You should be enrolled and in good standing in a post-secondary education program. If you're on this call or watching this recording and you're not, please reach out to Hannah or I. There's still volunteer opportunities to come out on these categorization days and be a part of some of our volunteer opportunities. Ability to lift heavy items, at least 50 pounds. We do come into contact with a lot of heavier items, and an intern's ability to be able to be helpful and move these around is definitely helpful. As Hannah mentioned in the previous slide, self-sufficient transportation is definitely a requirement. You're responsible for being able to get to and from the required categorization days.
So how to apply if you are interested. We have our application. Let's see here. Sadie, do you want to click forward for me?
Yeah.
Cool. So we have a Google Form application. The link has been dropped into the chat, so you can click on that as well. It's also, if you had seen our flyer going around, there is a QR code scan to the application as well there. So when you're filling out the application, please be sure to answer all the questions as well as answer them thoroughly and honestly. And you're going to we're going to ask you to upload a photo or document of your class schedule, specifically during that time that whichever session that you'll be a part of or that you're hoping to be a part of. This is both for us to get an idea of kind of what relevant coursework you're taking, as well as just to get an idea of what your course load is going to be. You know, we are just meeting once a week. It's going to be a good long day. It's going to be a lot of physical exertion. So we want to make sure that everybody can commit and be able to balance that workload with their classes. We're also going to request that you upload a cover letter. And then in your cover letter, we would like you to express your interest in this opportunity, kind of write what you hope to learn, and then what you will bring to the project, as well as what you think you personally would gain from this project and by being a part of it. Just so you guys know, the session 1 applications, which again the session 1 begins last week of April. The applications will be accepted from March 16th, so today, all the way to the end of the month, the March 31st. Applications for session 2 and 3 will not be accepted until a month before the session begins. We will be doing blasts out on social media just to remind you of when those applications will be open for session 2 and 3, but something to keep in mind for you that again, it's not open till a month before the session begins. Everything we've also dropped so not only the application link, but also just kind of an info doc about more about our internship in the chat. But if you have any questions at all about applying or anything you want to know that we maybe can't answer after this in the Q&A, please feel free to email me, hannah@cleanupthelake.org. It's HANNAH, so super simple. And yeah, we look forward to seeing all of your applications.
On Thursday, April 16th at 6 p.m., we'll be hosting a webinar with our environmental scientist, Zoe Harold. We'll be diving into all the dirty details of our NDSL end-up cleanup, which we did in August, September of 2020. Zoe will be going over which miles were the dirtiest, what the most prevalent material type we found, a lot of cool information. So if you guys are interested in that and learning a little bit more about some of the things we've talked about today, as far as our on the water cleanups, email me sadie@cleanupthelake.org and I'll send you a link to sign up for that webinar. We're likely going to have some prizes for attendees as well from some local businesses, and it's possible that we'll be premiering a sneak peek of a short film that we worked on during our Donner Lake cleanup. So please join us if you're able.
So not only do we have the internship, obviously we have other volunteer opportunities. So to donate, to volunteer, and to find out more about our organization, please visit cleanupthelake.org. You can sign up to volunteer, again, for not the internship, but for any other volunteer opportunities there. Please tell your friends, please tell your family members. The more that we grow this organization, the more that we can help out our environment. And again, the application for the internship specifically is on the chat or on the flyer, or you can contact me, Hannah, at cleanupthelake.org to apply. So now we're going to open it up to a little bit of Q&A. I was last year's intern, so I do know a lot about it. You know, I was the only one last year, and we're looking to have multiple people over multiple sessions this year. So it's going to be nice. It's going to be super fun. So feel free to ask me anything you want to know about it. Ask Sadie, and yeah, let us know.
Yeah, even any questions about, our cleanup process on the water, if we have some time and you guys want to know more about that, we could definitely go over some of that. So yeah,
I just wanted to verify. So last night I was checking out your website and I filled out the volunteer application. So that has nothing to do with the intern application, right?
Correct. Yeah, so that's like if you want to come out and kayak with us, or free dive if you have any free diving experience, or being a jet ski or boat operator. That's what that application is for. There's also an application to be a volunteer scuba diver if you're advanced open water certified. It's kind of the baseline requirement we have there.
And you're more than welcome to volunteer to come out on one of our trash sorting days if you didn't want to come do the whole internship. But the internship, since it is, you're getting units for school, it's going to be a more intense project that we're going to be taking on. And so there is a separate application process for that.
My first big question is, so like I have a trip. I'd like to apply for the first session. I live in Southlake. I go to SNU though. But I have a trip planned in the end of May for like 1 week. Would I be able to like make up a day on a bonus day, like beforehand or after? Or would I not be able to do that session?
Knowing ahead of time is definitely helpful for us to be able to work with you with a schedule. It's something we'd be open to discuss more with you, and in applying, we will be setting up some interviews and getting some more information. So that's something we could definitely discuss with you in more detail then, if that works.
In the application, it'll ask you about your availability and other conflicts. Just go ahead and write that down in that section. If it's only going to be, that 1 week, so really 1 day of the cleanup, obviously we prefer if you could come to all 10, that's our ideal. If there's, some other sort of conflicts, we can be understanding of that. Just keep in mind that, if you're already knowing you're going on something and you're going to be missing 1 day, that really doesn't open you up for missing any other days. If you get sick or something else happens, that's really going to be putting us in a bind. So just keep that in mind, but it doesn't disqualify you at all from applying to session 1. We really encourage you just put that in the notes and then we'll discuss it with you further.
Okay. So I have a CDU. Yay, I got one last year. Does that like intertwine, or is that useful to this internship at all? Or is that just like save that for volunteer separately?
Yeah, so we have our own CDUs. So if you have, in order to volunteer as a jet ski operator, you're going to have to show us that you have experience in that when you apply, as well as your California or Nevada boater's license. So due to, legal reasons, we probably not be able to use your CDU, although we appreciate the fact that you'd be willing to do so. We do have our own and would likely probably just have you use that.
It's awesome that you have experience. Again, it is. So everything on the water for everyone, I think that's probably going to be like something to highlight. Everything on the water is going to be volunteering. The internship is purely the data-based trash sorting and carrying on from that. Obviously, if you want to volunteer additionally, we absolutely encourage that. And it kind of gives you an idea of everything that's going on with our project from start to finish. You can see the trash getting pulled out and then you can go through and sort it. But just to keep that clear, everything on the water is going to be the volunteering, and everything with the trash sorting is the internship application. They are separate. Anybody else have any other
I would say though, depending on your school and the requirements, if you did come and volunteer on the water with us for a day, those hours might be able to go towards any credits you're trying to achieve. And that would just be, you know, working that out with the school and making sure that that aligns.
Totally.
Given that you were
Thank you.
already admitted into the internship program, of course.
I was hoping you'd say that.
So for Lake Tahoe Community College, we do your units based on the number of hours that you volunteer or work for an organization. So you earn 1 unit for every 40 hours that you volunteer. So if you were going to do some volunteer days in addition to the internship, then you could earn those extra elective credits because you would already be completing the internship coursework, the skills assignments, the midterm, the informational interview, that kind of thing that goes with the actual class.
Thanks, Amber.
Hi, I'm Madio. I use she, her pronouns. I'm wondering what you guys are going to do with the data. Do you have like a large scale plan or a way to extrapolate the trends that you guys are picking up?
Yeah, so we're working with our environmental scientist, Zoe Harold. She's kind of forefronting what we'll be doing with the data afterwards. To be honest, we haven't really outlined that fully. We're just kind of trying to collect the data and see what we want to do with it afterwards, but it will definitely involve, you know, educating the community, creating some whether that's through creating programs, helping to identify hotspot areas, and seeing what sort of mitigation efforts we can you know, institute in those different areas, providing it to local stakeholders, any schools that want that data to work with in their programs. It's definitely something we're going to be sharing and finding what best to do with as we collect it. Definitely open to any ideas from interns or something you might like to see with it. Yeah.
For last year's data, she'd already read a white paper on the data collected. So that's something that's definitely going to be going on moving forward. And we do work with the UC Davis Tahoe Environmental Research Center as well, and share our data with them as well as they share stuff with us. We work with Desert Research Institute, which is in Nevada. Also looking at the microplastics in the lake. Some other projects we've looked at are sampling the physical whole trash we found, and then these organizations take samples of the water and kind of see if we can track back our pieces of plastic back to the microplastic that they found in the lake, which is super interesting. Something I've really been interested in as an intern last year. So there's definitely a lot we're going to go through with the data. I think the data is important also to help us. It's like the #1 thing in our project, but pulling it out of the lake is well and good. It's flashy. It's really beautiful. It's obviously important, but when we go through the data, that's what's really going to drive us forward in order to make actual change in the future. So pulling it out makes current change. Absolutely. The trash isn't in there anymore, but using the data in order to promote, maybe we put out more trash cans, maybe we put up signs like we did at Donner Lake. Just what other options can we do to kind of see, maybe we target fishermen. We're finding a lot of like fishing trash in a certain area around a certain cove. What can we do to have more prevention tasks?
Totally. And as a follow-up, I'm wondering if you guys collaborate at all with Tahoe Blue Crew, which is more of like a terrestrial, same effort, like picking up litter and categorizing. They focus on hotspots as well. I'm just thinking it'd be interesting to have that comparison, like stuff that you've pulled out of the lake with stuff you've collected that they
Sure.
have collected.
We can't give too much details, but we have been discussing partnerships with them, as well as a citizen science application that kind of involves all organizations around the lake. So we're all working together, and all of our data is relevant to improving the quality of Lake Tahoe and the basin itself. So it's definitely in the works for the future.
And we're also looking this
Awesome.
summer potentially to add on some additional like land-based cleanups through our organization as well. So that's something that we'll keep in mind. Another thing we're adding, I think Sadie mentioned earlier, was we will be looking at kind of what the shoreline is like, you know, whether it's a public beach, whether it's residential housing along that shoreline, and kind of how that corresponds to how much trash is off the coast there and what kind of trash. So, you know, something just we kind of observed last year was that, you know, a lot of cans off public beaches, a lot of, you know, food trash, a lot of fishing trash in other areas off of private, nice residential homes. There's a lot of golf balls that people are hitting in, stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to kind of, like you said, compare that to what's going on the land as well.
Hi, my name's Alicia. I'm a bit of a special case, so I heard about this through the UC Davis Turk. I'm a UC Davis student that currently lives in Davis, so
I went to Davis as well.
Yay, cool.
Wags.
So I'm looking more at the session 2 just because it's over the summer and, you know, my travel would probably be easier. But I guess I was just wondering, what is it, Monday through Friday that you guys do the sessions, or is it 7 days a week? And then the time frame, just so I can gauge if I would be able to drive out, because it is about like a 3-hour drive.
Totally. So we ideally are looking to have it's going to change potentially per session. Ideally, we're looking to base our cleanup days on Wednesdays. We are going to kind of, you know, review your guys' availability and might make changes from there. So again, on the application, there's an option to put your availability during the time of the session you're applying for. If you are coming from Davis, as I think we discussed, you know, it's going to be morning through the, you know, mid to late afternoon. So it's going to be at least a 6-hour day. There's chances that the day might be shorter. There's chances that the day might be longer. It's all going to depend on the amount of trash the divers pull out, which is going to depend on so many things. You know, if it's a sandy area, there tends to be less trash accumulated. If it's rocky, there tends to be a lot of trash. So it's all going to base off of that. It is going to be 1 day a week unless we have, you know, an excess of trash, in which case we might add an additional sorting day. Of course, if you have extenuating circumstances, you're coming from far away and we do add an additional day, that's something, you know, we can consider and potentially be flexible with. Obviously, we'd love it if you could make it to all of the sorting days that we do, but since it's an add-on, obviously that's something we'll look into and not be as strict about. But it is going to be a full day. So if you're coming from Davis, especially with the traffic from Tahoe in the summer, I mean, I would plan leaving Davis quite early in the morning and you'll get back probably like, I don't know, 8 p.m. or something. So that whole day really should be blocked out for when we do have that sorting day session too, if that's what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm not too concerned with units. I don't need any internship units. So I was just more interested in what you guys would be doing in this internship versus like what a volunteer would be doing. So even if I did want to apply as an intern and I wasn't able to make it during the week, would I be penalized like in any way, or like does that take away like from me continuing to intern or anything like that?
It's a good question. I think that if you want to volunteer and come out and help us and you can't commit to the full 10-week session, but you want kind of more of the intensive look at what the interns are getting without, you know, regard to any credits, it's definitely something we're willing to work with you on. We're hoping to find like 5 dedicated interns, but outside of that, on any given categorization day, we'll have up to 5 other random volunteers because we have a lot of people who apply to come on the water. But we do have a pretty high level of standard for skills involved because it can be potentially dangerous on the water. So the people that are unable to join us on the water, we're going to push them towards coming out on categorization days. So if that's something that fits more with your schedule, but you do want to learn more about the data management, et cetera, it's definitely something we'd be willing to work with you with. if that answers your question.
Yeah, so I think it's just a bit simpler if I would just reach out to you guys separately.
Yeah, feel free to email me, Hannah, again, hannah@cleanupthelake.org for any like more specific questions as well about that. I think also the main difference, like even if you were to volunteer to come out on a sorting day, so you're at the exact same thing as the interns are going to be doing, so nothing to do with on the water, but if you're volunteering for a sorting day, I think the main thing is with the interns specifically, we are going to go really in depth. They're going to be able to use Excel and be trained in that. They're going to be able to use, project management, team leadership. You're going to be trained in WildNote, which I don't know what your major is, but at least for me, that was like really great field experience. And so it'd be a little bit more hands-on and in-depth versus just coming, you're helping out. Of course, we encourage you to volunteer no matter what, and sorting the trash. But the internship is going to give you a bit more of those applicable kind of resume and job skills.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I know it might be a little early for this question, but what are you guys expecting in terms of like how many applicants you get or turning people away? You said there's 5 spots. Are you expecting to have to turn down people, or do you think it's going to be just enough?
We can have no idea. It's like I said, last year I was the only intern. It wasn't like it was open to more people. I was the only, it was me, and I did it all, and it was awesome. It was fun. It was a lot of work, but it was great learning experience and hands-on. And, now I was lucky enough to get a job further with this organization. We were looking for 5 interns per session, mostly because we're just kind of comparing that to the amount of work that we're going to have to get done. Again, we're sorting all the trash we pull out. It's going to be thousands and thousands of pounds, and we're going to be counting every single piece of trash. So, more hands helping means lighter work. It's not, we encourage you to apply early. We're going to look at everybody's application, and we're, potentially going to go through an interview process as well. We can't say for sure how many people we're going to have apply, or whether, how hard it's going to be to get in, but it's going to be 5 per session. And again, if someone is wanting to come to all 3 sessions potentially, and they were a really awesome intern session 1, they apply again, we would love to have them for session 2 and session 3 as they apply further. That means that there might really only be 4 spots left. So it kind of depends on, how many people apply and what's out there. We're not really sure.
The only thing I'll add to that, which Hannah and I have discussed, is like, session 1 is kind of a trial period for us in mentoring and making sure that we're available to our 5 interns while also managing everything else we have to do. So if we find that we're able to do that successfully and can, more people apply for session 2 and session 3, and we feel like we could take on maybe 1 or 2 more interns, we might consider that. Just kind of all depends on how it goes in the other sessions and what we expect to find for garbage moving forward.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I've got another quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So does the garbage or the litter extraction and the categorization happen on the same day?
So not exactly. What we're aiming to do, and again, everything's dependent on weather, dependent on so many other like outside factors, but we're aiming to have the physical on-site on the water cleanups on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then, like I said, we are aiming, but potentially will change to have the sorting days with the interns on Wednesdays. So theoretically, they're on different days just because Sadie and I are involved in all different aspects of the organization and will be out there on the on water cleanups. But again, it's, if we have all these awesome interns apply and every single one says they're available fully only on Thursdays, like potentially we might have to, mix that up. But theoretically, yes, they're on different days.
Cool.
The sorting will usually be done like at location, right? Like on the beaches or parking lots?
Yeah, it's going to be parking lots for the most part. Beach is kind of hard because we have to have like a big flat surface. So yeah, session 1, I don't know if we can go back that slide. Session 1 is going to be in South Lake. Session 2 is going to be in North Lake for the sorting location. They'll always be at the same place unless something weird happens, but we're planning on having them all at the same place for what that session is. And then session 3 is the only one where it gets a little weird, since session 3 is going to be along down the West Shore and then back towards the second half of South Lake. So for part of it, kind of when we're above Emerald Bay, we are going to be sorting on the West Shore. And then for the second half of the cleanup, when we do get, past down into South Lake, we'll have the sorting location back down in South Lake again. So that's the only one where it would be 2 sites, but it's not going to switch back and forth per week. It's going to be like you do a couple weeks at the one location and then finish it up at the second location.
And we're still defining the logistical details of where the exact locations, but we're hoping they're convenient locations that you're all already familiar with. And we'll have more of that information soon.
And
What about after it's sorted and categorized and ready to go, then what?
totally. We have a couple different things going on. We do, so after we sort it, we then additionally sort it to make sure anything that is recyclable, we can recycle, because it's not just important to get it out of the lake, but it's important to have it disposed of properly as it should have been in the first place. We also are in contact with some people that are interested in using the trash to make like sculpture and art pieces, as well as photograph it, which is really cool. But yeah, we do dispose of it all properly.
The waste management places around the lake, South Tahoe Refuse, Incline Village Waste Management, and hopefully Truckee Tahoe Disposal have been awesome partners in working with us to take this garbage free of charge. So if you ever meet anyone from any of those management companies, definitely give them a high five for us. They've been really awesome in supporting us in the past and in this project moving forward.
And to kind of get an idea of how it works like throughout the week as a bulk. So like I said, we're going to do 3 days scuba diving and cleaning up trash, and then 1 day a week, ideally sorting the trash. So from those 3 previous days, wherever it lines up, we'll be sorting that trash. We keep it all in our Clean Up the Lake trailer. We bring the trailer to our sorting location. We lay out the tarps. We lay all the trash, sort it, photograph all that stuff. Input the data into our applications and pack it all up, recycle it, throw it away, go from there.
I have a question for Hannah, since you did last year. You personally, what did you learn, or how did you change your perception about the situation, like going through all of this data? Or did it help you, or?
Totally, yeah. So, I mean, I've been lucky enough to come on both the on the water and, do the internship and do the trash sorting. I've touched every single piece of trash that we've pulled out of the lake. I know it all well and personally. And like it's super interesting, and it just kind of changed my perspective on I'm not a litterer. I've never littered, of course, and I hope none of you guys ever have either, but it's also just changes your perspective on how much waste that humans create. I've already tried to be low waste generally in my life before doing this internship, but after doing it, I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting this, container from Whole Foods with pasta salad in it. And now I have to think about, how long this plastic is going to take to deteriorate. Where is that going to end up? Where's all this stuff? And I already kind of picked up trash in my day-to-day life as I walked around, but now especially I carry bags around in my car, because any piece of trash I see on the ground, I'm like, that's going to end up in the lake. So it definitely has just heightened my awareness of how much humans have created waste. I know I've talked to, this is kind of a side, but I've talked to my grandma about, she was alive when plastic was invented. And it's just kind of crazy to put in perspective that it's within, people we've known's lifespan of plastic being invented to now having giant islands of trash swirling around in the ocean. So it's really something we need to get a handle on now. And I've just become just so much more active on my awareness of it. It's been amazing to see kind of the data you know, come to life in front of you. It might seem like a dirty, gross job. It's super interesting. I was never really a trash girl before. We call ourselves glorified garbage men now. And just to kind of, you know, see like, oh my gosh, look at this, or how many golf balls were there? And you really do get like excited about the data and excited about what you're finding, and just, you know, seeing what's out there and under the water. You would never expect what we find.
Just before I head out, where would we be able to find this recording if we need to reference it at all?
It is going to be distributed through the Lake Tahoe Community College social media channels. We have a work experience and internship page on Facebook. It'll be posted on our internship webpage. And then Clean Up the Lake and Sierra Nevada College will also both have access to it, and it will be distributed by them. If you want to, you're welcome to privately send me your email address in the chat, and I will make sure that you get a copy since you're down at UC Davis and not involved with either of the major schools partnering in this.
You can feel free to email me as well, and we can send you one and get one from Amber.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else, like what should we do now if we for sure know we want to do this? Just fill out the app and wait to hear back, or?
Yeah, so you can go ahead and fill out the application. It sounds like you were interested in, did you say session 1?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, go ahead and fill out the application now. Again, it'd be due to anywhere from today through the end of the month. So March 31st by end of day, like end of business day. So you can fill it out anytime throughout that period. Once that application period closes, we're going to go through and look at all the applications, review them, discuss with our team, and then we will, you'll provide your email on that. And so we'll contact you guys, go through the interview process, and then let you know if you've been selected for the application. If you're interested in one of the, you know, second or third sessions, remember that it's a month before that the application is going to open for those sessions. So just keep that in mind. And again, we'll be sending out reminders as well. If you would like, feel free to email me and, you know, say, hey, I'm interested in the second session, and I can add you to a list of people that I'm going to say, hey, it's the opening day for application for session 3. Just a reminder, since it is going to be a couple months down the road, just so you remember to apply.
And just a reminder, in the chat is a link to the application, as well as a document with more detailed information. A lot of stuff we've gone over today, but if you're just looking for something that's right in front of you and has all that info, you'll find that in the chat.
And tell your friends to apply. We need all the help that we can get. And it's even more fun when you have someone, I mean, we're going to be there, Sadie's going to be there, so you're going to have us to work with as well, but it's always fun to have, you know, other people, you know, working with you when you're doing a little bit of glorified dumpster diving.
So I'm just a little curious how this led to a job for you, and is that like likely to happen through for other interns?
I'll jump in here really quick.
Yeah.
Hannah was super dedicated from the start. No task was, you know, too dirty or excruciating. And Hannah just kind of always showed up and followed through and stayed on task despite her busy schedule. And so that definitely led to an opportunity in this project to offer her employment. It's not something we would say isn't possible, but just a reminder that we are a nonprofit, so we're kind of slow growing. You know, we only get money as it's donated, so encourage your friends to donate, and maybe we'll be able to hire you if you're dedicated to the internship. But yeah, definitely if you put in the time and show us that you're extremely interested in this, you know, we can offer you letters of recommendation in the future, as well as potential opportunities with our organization. Definitely possible.
Mhm. And also, something to keep in mind is, I'm not sure, you know, what your majors are or anything like that. Mine was in wildlife and conservational biology. It's pretty discouraging these days, I feel, or I felt as like a student. I just graduated a couple of years ago. When you're applying to jobs, they want, you know, 5 years of relevant field experience and all this stuff. And you're like, oh my God, I've only been in school for 3 years. How could I already have 5 years of experience? So this job is an awesome opportunity to learn experience with maybe not as many of those qualifiers that a lot of other internships and job applications may require. You're going to learn a lot of, you know, field experience. You'll learn how to use our programs. You're going to learn data management, which anything in the environmental field is going to just super come in handy. And so that's going to be, even if you aren't unable or we're unable to offer you a job, like specifically with this organization, we definitely can help you get a job in another organization, hopefully.
I think the key to that is this is a very small community up here in Tahoe, even North Shore to South Shore. And so the networking opportunities that are provided by working with the organization and volunteering your time and participating in the internship program will definitely take you further than, you know, just volunteering here and there. You know, Sadie said she can't talk about details of some of the partnerships coming up, but it sounds like the local organizations really have something in the works. And so if you can get that letter of recommendation from somebody that they know, from an organization that they're familiar with, that'll definitely help in the long run.
Yeah. We're all working towards the same goal. You know, we're helping not only just locally in Tahoe to clean up Tahoe and to help protect it, but just our planet in general. It's such a, I don't know, I just felt so much passion working for this project. It's not something that I necessarily was was my specific interest prior in my major, but it's definitely relevant, and I've just gotten so much more passionate about it the more I do it. And I'm so happy to be working for them, and I'm sure you guys will be super excited to be working for our internship as well. It's going to be really fun.
Are there any more questions? It looks like we are ready to wrap up. Thank you everybody for attending today. Again, the recording will be available in the future. Sadie and Hannah, thank you so much for sharing this opportunity with our students and our community. I'm going to go ahead and drop my email address in the chat as well, and you can find my contact information at the LTCC website. I am not familiar with the details of the Sierra Nevada College internship programs, but Sierra Nevada College students are eligible for courses at Lake Tahoe Community College, and you do get in-state tuition as long as you live along the lake. So we can work with you on some funding if you need to take a few units of internship through the college, you know, financial aid or grants or scholarships if you do live up in the Reno or Carson Valley areas. If you are in the Tahoe Basin, you qualify for in-state California tuition, which is under $40 a unit right now. So our internship program will run those 3 quarters for 1 or 2 units per quarter, which is pretty affordable. And you'll receive all of the networking, you'll receive the skills support and some assignments to help build you into a better trained employee and intern in the future.
And I believe for the UC system, as long as you get your internship cleared and approved by an advisor, it automatically qualifies.
Great, thank you for that insight, because I know our units do not transfer to the UC systems the same as they do to Cal State or to some of the other schools. So
if you attend a different school other than the ones we discussed, I recommend speaking to your advisor. We'd be more than happy to work with you or anyone else you know who does attend another school to kind of see how we could, you know, still have you apply and attend the internship, even if you're not one of those students.
Definitely. definitely. So before we leave, I will drop my email address in the chat in case there are any LTCC specific questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. If you're watching this on the recording, please feel free to reach out with any individual questions. We're all here to support you through this process and your education.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing your applications, guys. Thank you.